Hey, how's it going? So today I wanted to thank you for all your comments on my blog videos. It is just so great to see everybody interacting. I love connecting with you. I know it's just a kind of a very one-dimensional kind of, seeing you through a straw kind of thing on a blog, but at least it's something in this interconnected world with everybody. Even though we can connect instantly, the reach is amazing, but the intimacy is extremely low. But it is awesome to see a community out there and everything. And even for the people I work with in Songwriter, seeing your comments there is just great too. Every blog, it seems there's always someone or maybe a couple of people that are having problems, or are skeptical or have, these sort of preconceived notions of how sync licensing works. It's all a lottery, or it's like, it doesn't work for me. And, it just requires a lot of patience and so on. Now, one of the comments on the last blog from Timothy, it sounds like, Timothy, you really believe in the process. You believe in your music. You want to do something with your music and get it out into the world. But the problem is you're saying it's like you're just trying to hang on to this belief. It's really difficult. It takes a lot of time. And, it sounds a little bit like you're discouraged and everything. So the reality is, when you look around outside at everybody who's trying to get their music into TV and film, and even go broader than that, right? That's everybody trying to get their music heard. Just get it in front of somebody where it's going to matter, where something's going to happen. And, you're busy working on social, right? Trying to get a few fans that way. Maybe you've settled just for your friends and family. You're like, that's just my lot in life. That's just as far as I'm going to go. I'm never going to achieve the dream that I had to be able to get my music out there in a much, much bigger way. If you're in the other camp, you're pushing super hard. You might be doing traditional gigs. You might be doing social, as I just mentioned. You're doing all these other things, getting out in Spotify. You're trying to get on forums and promote yourself that way. You're doing everything you can to get your music heard. And one of those things, a huge component of that, is getting it into TV and film. Because as you know, that's like the Shangri-La, right? You get one major sync. I've seen it over and over and over in Sync Songwriter. People get one great sync placement and everything changes. Their whole life changes. I've got so many stories like that. So when you're thinking about the challenges, if you think about them analytically and you think about them empirically, and you look at the millions of musicians out there who are trying to get music heard, right? So multiply those millions of musicians by a bunch of tracks, because they don't just write one, they write a bunch of them. And then you start thinking, my gosh, like, how is that even possible? Like, what are the odds of that? Because I'm like one person in this ocean of music. How can that even work? And so you start thinking about, well, geez, you've heard about being in libraries where you're just lost, right? In this huge, vast, bunch of tracks. Same thing if you're on an agency. They typically have huge rosters, and you don't know if you're being prioritized for that. And then there's all these other avenues of sites. You can jump on places to try to get briefs, and you can try to do this and that and the other thing, but you know that you're on there with all of these other people. And then you don't even know sort of what's going on and how the whole thing works behind the scenes anyway. So I have found the ultimate way is relationships. It's the hardest way. It is the hardest way to go. But that is what I specialized in, is being able to take indie songwriters and put them directly in front of people who can make things happen, music supervisors. And that was because I knew that they couldn't do it on their own, because it was super hard for me. It took me years to build my network. So you don't have that kind of time. That was my living. I was being a music producer and meeting supervisors. It was easier for me because it was in my wheelhouse, right? It was what I was already doing. And for you, you've got other things. You might have a job, you might have a family, you live somewhere else. You don't live in Los Angeles, New York, Nashville, Austin even, and stuff like that. So it all comes down to trying to get those relationships. But the problem, of course, is you can't just reach out to all these supervisors. You can't cold email them. It just doesn't work. No, there's a path. There's a way that it does work. It does work extremely well. And you can scale, you can magnify all of your efforts in 1,000 times by just putting in the right work. It's like working smarter, not harder. It's like doing the right thing to get to where you want to go. Now, I just wanted to dedicate this message, this blog, to that feeling of impossibility, that feeling of playing this lottery out there where you're going to just go through life and, you'll be like 99%, I'm guessing here, but it's probably around there, 99% of all the music out there that's just going to drift off into obscurity. It will never make the light of day in a big way. Friends, family, sure. But outside of that, that'll be it, right? That's most music out there because there's just so much. So I want you to leave me a comment below. Let me know what your feeling is on this. Not what your challenges are specifically, but what your feeling is. Like, do you feel like it's an impossibility? Do you feel like there is a way to do this? I read every single one. I respond to them all. Leave me a comment below. I'll see you there, and I would love to kind of see where you're at right now with that. Okay? All right. See you soon.